Okay, so let's go ahead and go over number one. Now remember, we don't have a calculator for this part, so we're going to have to solve this equation without a calculator. So problem number one says, what is the solution to the equation? So first thing I need to do is get rid of the parentheses. So I want to distribute the negative 2. Now negative 2 times m is negative 2m. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. Okay? Now I need to bring down my 4, bring down the equals negative 6m plus 8. Now the next thing I need to do is combine my like terms on either side. So if you look at your left side, which is on the left side of the equal sign, you're going to notice that you can do the 4 plus the 6, which is positive 10. And then I'm going to bring down my negative 2m, your equals negative 6m plus 8. Now, I need to decide if I want to move the 2m, the negative 2m over here, or if I want to move the negative 6m over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this negative 6m over to the other side, and it becomes a positive 6m. So I'm left with negative 2m plus 6m is positive 4m. Okay, then bring down your plus 10. And then, of course, on the right side, you're left with just 8. Now I need to move my 10 to the other side because remember, I'm solving for m. So the opposite of a plus 10 is a minus 10. So I'm left with 4m equals 8 minus 10 is negative 2. And then the opposite of multiplying by 4 is to divide by 4. So m equals negative 2 over 4. And as you can tell, that is not an answer, but if you simplify this by 2, you get negative 1/2. So your answer is B. Okay, moving on. Number 2. Same idea, but this time what I will do is I will change these numbers into decimals. So 7 minus 0.75x equals 0.5x minus 3. Okay, so instead of the fractions, I went ahead and converted them into decimals. So first thing I need to do is decide what I want to move. If I want to move the negative 0.75 over here, or if I want to move the 0.5 over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this negative 0.75x over here and make it a positive 0.75x. Okay? So don't forget your equal sign, okay? So if you look at the left side, the only thing I have left is the 7. If you look at the right side, let's combine those two decimals. What is 50 cents plus 75 cents? Well, that will be $1.25, X. And then bring down your minus 3. And then the opposite of a minus 3 is a plus 3. So 7 plus 3 is 10 equals 1.25x. So now, the opposite of multiplying by 1.25 is to divide by 1.25. So x equals 8, because 10 divided by 1.25 is 8. So my answer comes out to be C. Okay. Number 3. How many solutions does the equation have? So first thing I need to do is I need to solve this equation. Okay, so first thing I want to do is get rid of the parentheses. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 4 is 8 equals 2x plus 8, because I didn't mess with the right side, so I just wrote it down. Now stop for a moment and look at this equation. 2x plus 8 equals 2x plus 8. The left side and the right side are identical. So at this point, you should be able to identify that if it's a true statement, which it is because it's the same on both sides, then your answer should be D, infinite solutions. Now, if you wanted to, you could keep going further and jailbreak the 2 to become a minus 2x. And 2x minus 2x is 0. So 8 equals 8. So if you notice, it's a true statement. So your answer is infinite. Remember, If it's one solution, it would have been x equals a number. If it was no solution, it would have been -3 equals 4, or something that is a false statement. So obviously for number 3, the answer should have been D. Okay, let's move on to the next page, to number 4. And remember, all these are done without the calculator. So number 4, which statement is true about table A and table B? Well, if you quickly glance through the answer choices, it says table A represents a function because, and then the reason. Table B is a function, table A is a function, table B is a function. So they're asking you which one's a function. So let's look. Table A is not a function because the x's repeat right there at the 2. B is a function because all of the x's are different. Okay, so we're looking for the one that says table B is a function. So A is out of the question because it says table A is a function, and that's a lie. C is out of the question because it says that table A is a function, so it has to be between B and D. Now B says table B represents a function because there's only one output for each input. D says table B represents a function because there's only one input for each output. Now the one that will make sense will be answer choice B, because they're saying that there's only one y value for every input, or every x value. So in other words, what they're saying is that all the x's have to be different, that it doesn't matter about the y's, but only one input goes into one output goes into one input. So the answer would have been B. Now let's move on to number 5. Function J is represented by the equation y equals x plus 4. Function K is shown on the graph below. What is the difference of the slopes of the two functions? Okay, so first thing I will do is I will draw myself 2 sections on my paper to be able to separate the function J and function K. So I will do function J, function K. Now obviously we're looking for the slope because that's what they said. So let's start with function J, which is the equation. What is the slope of this? Now remember, the slope is the number in front of the x. Because there's no number in front of this x, it's implied to be a 1. So my slope for that equation is 1. Now the slope of the graph. Pick 2 points of your choice. I'm just going to use this one and this one. Okay? So the rise, remember you got to do the rise over the run. So the rise is 1, 2, and the run is 1. So 2 divided by 1 is 2. So what is the difference? 2 minus 1 is 1. So the difference is 1. So how far apart are 1 and 2? 1. So your answer would have been 1 for that one. Okay? Let's move on to number 6. Now this one, as you remember, it was missing an equation, and that equation would have gone here where it says where. So I'll go ahead and put it here. So y equals 65x. Okay? So now it says, Zoe and Laura are both traveling to an out-of-town soccer tournament with their parents. The distance traveled by Zoe and her family during the trip can be modeled by the equation y equals 65x, where x represents the number of hours traveled and d represents the distance traveled in miles. The graph below models the distance y traveled by Laura's family after x hours. Use the equation and the graph above to answer the following equation. Zoe's family traveled how much faster than Laura's family? So, They're saying how much faster. Remember when you talk about how fast you're going, you go in miles. So you would do miles per hour. That's how you measure it, how fast a car is going. So miles per hour, your keyword is per. So that means they're asking you for the slope. So let's separate this and do Zoe versus Laura. And let's identify the slope. So let's start with Zoe, which is the equation. What is the slope of this equation? Well, that's easy. It's the number in front of the x, which is 65. So Zoe's family was going 65 miles an hour. Well, now let's look at Laura. Laura's the graph. Now you're going to have to pick 2 points. I would start with 0 and that point. Okay? So that would be 30, 60, and then 1. So the rise over run, okay? So the rise is 60 and the run is 1. So be very careful, okay? So this is going by 30, 60, and this one is going by half. So a half, a whole, okay? So it's 60 divided by 1 is just 60. So the slope is 60. So now they said, how fast was one going faster? How much faster is Zoe going compared to Laura? Well, 5 miles faster. Okay, Zoe is going at least 5 miles faster than Laura, so my answer would have been 5. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to problem number 7. Now, number 7 says, the graph below shows a linear relationship. The points shown have whole number order pairs. What is the slope of the line? Well, that's easy. Just choose 2 of the points, okay? I'm going to use this one and this one. So remember, you got to do the rise over the run. So my rise is 1, 2. My run is 1, 2, 3. So my slope is 2/3. Okay? Simple as that. And you could have just left it as a fraction. Okay? Let's move on. Use the linear graph below to answer the question. The y-intercept and the slope of the line are important parts of the line. So there's your graph. How much did Connie save each week? Each week. You should know that means the slope. So remember, slope means the rise over the run. So pick 2 points of your choice and find the slope. So I'm going to do this one and this point. So let's start. 5, 10, 15. So 15 and then 1. So 15 over 1 simplifies to 15. So my answer for that one should have been 15.